Okay, we're live. Okay. So do you guys want to do gun control now?
Gun control continue.
Or continue gender?
Should we continue? Because we had just started on it.
Yeah, we were like 15 minutes in.
I think you guys had left off on whether or not trans individuals should be able to use the gender that they identify as by the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Wait, hold on. I'm getting on it so I can see the chat.
Yeah. Let's see.
And I'm gonna send it to everybody. Hold on.
If anyone videoed anything from the last stream,
is it supposed to be live right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be live.
Yeah, it is
I don't
live.
see it on.
It's loading on mine.
I don't see it on YouTube.
Yeah, I see it live.
Hold on, let's see. I'll refresh it. I don't see it live on mine.
Sorry, I was hungry.
I don't see it live on mine yet. Let me see.
So I promise y'all it's working.
Yeah, it's live on mine. I can see the comments.
Dang, I wonder why it's not working for me. Let's see.
Okay, for everybody watching, I'm looking at the comments. We're gonna continue with gender because we just got into it, and then we're gonna do gun control and then abortion. So, yeah.
Proud Libby is not our kid.
What? Chill. What? No. Okay. So we're talking about gender neutral bathrooms and if the person or not gender neutral bathroom. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Like bathrooms in general for trans people. Okay, so how do you guys feel about it? I guess we'll start with Jade.
I think that it's kind of complicated what I think. So I think if you just transition, you just socially transitioned, recently, really recently, then I think you should go into the bathroom with that's your 6, I guess, because it's kind of weird to go into a bathroom whenever you just transition and you don't really look like your gender, and because it can be weird for people because people could harass you or something. But if you look like your gender, then I believe that you should go into the bathroom that you are assigned, or I mean not assigned. You should go into the bathroom that you feel most comfortable in. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, I think there should be gender neutral bathrooms or family bathrooms that you should be able to go in.
Yeah, I agree with gender neutral in a sense. A lot of people, as it's just becoming more socially yeah, it's okay to transition. It's modern, most of the modern transitions. As it's just becoming more socially acceptable, I feel like there should be more gender neutral bathrooms for the people who just don't feel comfortable going into the bathroom they want to go into yet. It's sort of it's sort of like a stage of transition. So you're getting to the point. It kind of depends on if you pass or not, because obviously, if you just the bathroom, someone's gonna be especially if they don't agree with that, you might get harassed or beaten, and that's obviously a social problem. But it's not something we can just stop completely. So yeah, I agree with gender neutral bathrooms.
Okay, yeah. I guess I'll go next. So regarding trans individuals being able to go into whatever bathroom that of the gender that they identify by, if it is an individual like Jade said, where they have just started transitioning and they socially they identify as whatever gender they're identifying by, I don't think somebody who, and you can disagree with me or agree with me, I don't think somebody who is not dressing as the individual that they, or as a gender that they identify by, if there's a guy who identifies as a woman, I don't think he should be able to go into the woman's bathroom. But if there's a trans individual who clearly is transgender and looks like the gender that they identify by, then yeah, I personally would not have a problem with it. Am I the most comfortable with it? No, but it's not going to bother me to the point where I have to throw a fit over it. And then gender neutral bathrooms, I don't have a problem with them because they're no different than the family bathrooms.
Yeah, and like obviously if you don't pass, then you shouldn't go into the gender that you feel you are, because
Yeah, because I mean, like, I think we
people
can all
people
agree,
could
like,
get
if you,
uncomfortable.
yeah, I mean, like, I think we can all agree, like, if you saw a guy or a man who identified as a woman walking into the bathroom who had like scruff or facial hair, you kind of be like, kind of like weirded out a little bit.
I would think.
Yeah, and
But I wouldn't like judge them for doing that. I mean, that's
Oh
their
yeah,
choice.
no.
Obviously, they're not like if they're not looking in the stall like trying to peep on you, which it has no correlation. I would not care. Honestly, they're just trying to pee.
Yeah.
yeah.
Let
But like
people-
people could obviously get really uncomfortable if you don't pass and you're in
Yeah.
the bathroom. Yeah.
yeah, people can get uncomfortable, and I get that. I mean, I guess it's just like it's different people. Because personally, if it was someone that identified as a woman, they are a woman. I'm with it. I don't care. But I mean, different people. It's just kind of,
So like, do you guys like? So you know how it's normally like you have male, female, and then like bathrooms, and then sometimes you'll have like gender neutral. Do you think it would be worth putting gender neutral bathrooms in there, like cost wise or just in general?
in general.
Yeah, I think
In general.
yeah.
Okay, I want to hear like KP or Brenna go first. Sorry.
Well, like, what places are we talking about? Are we talking about like schools, malls, stores, or like what are we?
Probably schools. Like
I mean, most schools.
most schools, and then probably like workplaces and
Okay,
malls.
so I mean, for most schools, I mean, they already have bathrooms that are meant for just like one person. So at least where I live, we already have those. So I mean, I wouldn't see a problem with it. Like, why not? It's not going to hurt anybody as long as like they don't limit it to like, oh, only trans individuals can use this gender neutral bathroom. If anybody can use it, then like, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. It's no different than like I said,
Okay.
having a family bathroom.
So then, how do you feel about the schools that or like workplaces that do not have a gender neutral bathroom, like
I think
single stall? Like, how would you think it would be a good idea to put it in there, cost wise, in general, whatever?
I think it's beneficial.
yeah, I think
other than just.
I think that it's beneficial because students that are trans, like if they go into the bathroom that they prefer, that they could like easily get bullied or something in there, and that's not safe for them. So I think that there should be a place that they can go to use the restroom without feeling scared.
Okay, Brenner, KP.
Yeah,
How do
I
you
would
guys-
rather have gender neutral bathrooms than like force kids that like no matter what grade they're in, like to feel uncomfortable or like feel like they're gonna get bullied for it. Like I feel like the solution is just to have like a place that you can go.
Yeah.
So you're not like forced to go into like male or female, you know? So
yeah.
Okay, how do you guys feel about transgender people like going into the military?
I support it.
Yeah, I believe that.
As long as you pass the mental and physical health checks, I feel like you should be allowed.
Yeah, anyone should be able to serve for their country if they want to. Like, that should not be limited to people. Like, that's literally discrimination to not let them in
but
it. And
surgeries can stop you from going into the military.
Yeah, that's what I was like.
Yeah, like
I don't have a
even
problem.
like mouth surgery, like jaw surgery. Like if you have something put in your mouth,
yeah.
you can't join.
Well, yeah, but if like you're just socially transition and there's no issue, then I think you should be able to get in. Like you should
Like,
not be
not having
denied.
surgery?
Yeah, like you should not be denied just because of the fact that you're transgender.
I mean,
Like you
obviously,
should.
transgender people are still military. You
Yeah.
can't socially. I mean, socially transgender people are still gonna get in the military. Just like when there was like gay military ban, they still got in the military. They just lied about it. I
Yeah.
mean, if you want to serve your country, I feel like you should just be able to serve your country as long as you pass the requirements.
Okay, KP.
I'm kind of conflicted on that trans individuals should strictly be prohibited from going into the military. However, I feel like if they're like in the middle of their transition or they're planning on having like on taking hormones, whether it be testosterone or estrogen, if they're planning on going into the military, I feel like they should be finished with their transition
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't
to go in. Like I don't think that somebody, and this like obviously what Brenna said, like there's certain surgeries that you have where you can't go into the military or whatever it may be, but I don't think that somebody who is in the middle of their transition, who is having surgeries or taking testosterone or estrogen, should be serving or should be going out into combat. Because I mean, you can look at studies and it shows that whenever you're putting different hormones, whether it be testosterone or estrogen, into a body, it makes your hormones fluctuate. And there's so many complications and liabilities that causes because that can cause. Because I mean, if you think about it, like if you're in the field in combat and you're having all of these things going on in your body, you may not be able to react the way that you need to react compared to where if you were finished with it or somebody who isn't trans. That's how I feel.
I agree that you should either socially transition or complete with transitioning, just for the factor of like that medicine and the cost it's going to be able to take hormones while you're over. I don't think that it's like it'll be available in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it's
Like-
changing. So it's gonna
Like
affect-
if you're socially transitioning and you're not like physically transitioning, then yeah, you should be able to get in, because there's no reason that you should not be able to get in other than the fact that like you could go, I guess. But if you aren't planning on like getting surgeries and stuff, then you should be able to get in. Like there's no health risks or any. If there's no like health risks, then I think you should be able to get in.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, with the hormones and everything, I mean, you also have to think about the well-being of the people that you're serving with whenever you go overseas and everything. So it's like it's not just like about the individual themselves too. It also then goes into is everybody going to be safe, and such things like that. Sorry, but yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I think all agree.
The only thing though is I think Kyndal said that with transgender people, like there was a lot of prior, like mental health, like suicide, depression,
Yeah.
all
Mhm.
that. You can't get into the military with prior mental health problems like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you have mental health problems, then you shouldn't be able to get in. But if you're perfectly fine, like if you're okay, if you're safe, then you should be able to get in. There's no
Yeah, but,
reason
like,
that you
with
should be
rates-
denied.
With rates rising though, that leaves very few able to get in anyways.
Obviously, I'm sure you're aware of the trans suicide rate. It's like 68%. It's a really high number, and that has a lot to do with like bullying, like we were talking about earlier with the stuff. So once those changes are made more socially and more available to transgender individuals, I feel like it will decrease the amount of suicide rates. Therefore, it'll make the chance that they could join the military more available to them. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Is there anything anybody else wants to like specifically bring up for
Oh,
themselves to make an
me,
argument?
I do.
Okay.
I actually have a question. Can I ask a question right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just do whatever.
Okay. So what do you guys think of, so say like there's a trans individual, what do you think about them being housed in barracks of the gender they're assigned with? Because I mean, there's a lot of, and unfortunately there is like a lot of sexual harassment and sexual assault in the military. What do you think of them being in the gender that they identify with, barracks?
I mean, obviously there is going to be sexual harassment. I mean, anywhere you go. It's not just because of the trans individual, which, I mean, there's no correlation between trans individuals and sexual harassment, which is like a common misconception. But I think that if your hormone levels are at are at the right point where it is aligned with everyone else, I think you should be allowed to like house with them because your hormone levels are the same. The same hormone level. Like you're basically in a view on that.
So then, like,
I
do you
agree.
think it's fair, like, the requirements, like, physical requirements between male and female, if you were once a male and then you went through the whole process of becoming a female, like, do you think it's fair then that they get to be dropped down to female standards, like, physically wise? All because they were like, no, like, I want to be female.
Well, it's not their choice that they wanted to be a female.
But it is their choice that they wanted to be a female.
It's not like you're born with that.
Certain, I mean, if you're like diagnosed by a medical professional with like gender dysphoria, then yeah, like you are. But there are some people who aren't diagnosed with, like, obviously if you're diagnosed with it, you clearly are born that way. But I mean, some people are not.
I think that they are born that way. If you feel that way in your brain genuinely, and you're old enough to be able to know, like, for sure that, yeah, I identify with 100%. Like, you see the side, everyone sees the side, and you know for like certain you feel this way. I feel like we should trust the person enough to make their own decision.
Regarding Brenna's question, I think that whether or not, and this is just my personal thing, because I mean, this also comes down to like the way that men and women are naturally built. I think that if there's a trans individual who is going into the military, I mean, you have to go through physical tests and everything. I think that they should have to test with whatever biological sex that they are, because I mean, no matter whether or not you're taking testosterone or estrogen, it's not going to change, like, it's not going to completely change your physical build
Yeah.
and capability. So
I
that's
agree.
like, I think that's if you're biologically a man, you're biologically male, biologically female, I think you should have to take those physical tests.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I don't think there should be special exceptions, if that makes sense.
No, I
That's
mean,
all I was wondering. Like, what do you guys like think? Like,
Even
do they
more
have to be met, like, held to those requirements, or do you think they can be like, oh, like, I'm now a female, I can have those requirements?
they're not going to be born feeling like they're different and transition just to join the military and get special benefits.
No.
Obviously, that, yeah. But I think that, yeah, obviously you should have to pass the physical test. And if you're giving them like these special like tests, specialized tests, it's gonna dehumanize them, make them feel like they're different. Which, in a sense,
Yeah.
is why the suicide rate is as high as it is, because they already feel different than everyone.
But they're not specialized tests. Everyone has to do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I agree that they shouldn't have specialized testing.
I agree.
Okay.
Is there anybody else that wants to bring up like a specific topic, or is there anything? Do you guys want to move on to the next, or do you still want to stay on gender?
I'm
Do
good
you
with
have
moving on if you guys are.
Yeah, we can move on. I'm good with
Okay.
that.
So next is gun control. So like if we could like all tell where we are, like if you're pro gun, I guess. Not
I'm pro gun.
okay.
What do you mean?
I'm pro gun.
I'm not against guns. What do you mean pro gun? Like,
Okay. Do you think we need more gun control,
I'll say something.
or
I
do you think what we have now is okay, or do you think we should have less because it violates the Second Amendment or not?
I believe that
And if it does violate the Second Amendment, for the people that think that, why does it violate?
okay, so I think that you should be able to have a gun if you are a law-abiding citizen and you won't use it for bad and you like pass background checks and stuff. I think that's good, but I think your gun should be taken if you like don't pass a mental health check and other like things that are used to help reduce gun violence. But if you are just like a normal citizen and you have a gun maybe for like protection or for like hunting or something, then I believe you should be able to keep that. But we need more
Do you
gun
think there should be
control.
like a max like restriction on like how many you can have though?
No.
I don't really know about that one.
I don't see the point of having that many, but if you
Yeah.
want to, I mean,
Yeah.
but-
So are you guys like for stricter gun laws, or do
Yeah.
you think that?
I
So
can
what would
tell-
you define? What would you want as a stricter gun law?
I don't
Um,
believe in it because most,
Wait, what'd she say?
I don't
Yeah,
believe in the
it cut out.
because most shootings occur of handguns. It's not going to stop all the shootings because most of them do occur with handguns. I
So,
feel like
oh sorry,
with-
my bad.
the problem is with the getting better mental health checks rather than banning AR-15 because it's not going to affect anything if most of the shootings occur with handguns. It's the person
Yeah.
itself, and that's sort of sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
like I think that we should have red flag laws. So like if anybody is like suicidal and their mental health is not doing good, then they should not be able to have a gun because suicides were 58.8% of all gun deaths between 1999 and 2016. So that's like a lot. That's 336,000. So in places where red flag laws are in place, gun-related suicides decreased by 7.5% and 13.7%. So I definitely agree with red flag laws. I think they are very beneficial and they should be in place. that's one of the things of gun control that I agree with.
What do you think the requirements for red flag laws should be? Because I mean, if you think about it, like, I mean, anybody can say, oh, I mean, because a red flag law, I mean, where I live, in the state I live in, for red flag laws, all somebody has to be able to prove is like, oh, somebody is a threat to themselves or others. But like, do you think that, for like mental purposes, do you think that they should have to provide like medical records, like from a medical professional, in order to have their guns taken away? Or do you think that any person, like a family member, should be able to go to a judge and say, yeah, they have this, you need to take their guns?
Well, I think that a family member could go to like a mental health professional, someone that like specializes in it, and they could be like, I want them to get tested, and you will get tested for mental health issues. And if you have any mental health issues that could make you a threat to yourself or anybody else, then I do not think you should be able to own a gun.
But that's
Right.
not red flag laws. Red flag laws are when you go to the court and just say, I don't think they're fit to
Well,
have a gun. Like,
Yeah.
that's like red flag laws.
Well,
that's
yeah,
something
but I
else.
think that like red flag laws should be like
more than
what I just said.
I think they
Yeah.
need to add requirements into red flag laws, because I mean, if you think
Yeah.
about it, literally, if I hated my neighbor, I could go to a judge and say,
Yeah.
oh, he said that he's going to shoot me with his gun, and then that can be like, they can get their guns taken away, and that's not right. So like
that
with
violates
mental,
due process.
exactly. And I think that if somebody does have a mental illness, they should get tested, which obviously falls into the mental background checks and everything,
Yeah.
to where they get tested, and they have to provide actual like medical records to prove that they are mentally ill to have their guns confiscated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but my question, Lucas.
Okay,
Why?
go for it.
So my take on like the gun control and whatnot, I don't like. Like I said, I don't agree with the banning of AR-15s because most of the shootings are with handguns. So it's more of the person itself, which is why I support mental health background checks. Because I mean, in Florida and Delaware, I believe, it doesn't require a background check to be able to obtain a gun, and I think that should be like a countrywide thing. You should have to have a mental health background. And I believe that, I mean, you should be able to own a gun if you want to own a gun. I mean, that's your choice. That's your spending on it. I think it's unconstitutional to take away the right to a gun, but I don't necessarily like support guns. But if you want to get one, it's not business that you have one. You're using it for
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
my sorry, Lucas.
You're good. Do you want to say, or can I ask because it's a question for you, KP.
No, yeah, you go ahead and ask.
Okay, so like you brought up like the topic of like people having like mental health problems or whatever for like red flag laws or whatever. So like what like do you think there's specific types of like mental health problems like or like disorders or whatever, like anxiety versus depression? Like if somebody has anxiety, should they be able to have a weapon or a gun or no? And like why do you think that is?
I mean, mental health, there's so many different mental health disorders, but
Yeah.
personally for me, if I were to make the red flag law, anybody who had like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, multiple personality disorder, I don't think anxiety disorder, not that, because I mean, anybody can have anxiety, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're suicidal or depressed. It's like that just happens when they're put in different situations. But anybody who has the mental disorders that I explained, I think they should be. I think that they should be able to have their guns taken away if they are medically diagnosed with that.
They
Yeah,
should
like I think
taking away that one right. If you're saying it's like unconstitutional to make gun laws, why are you trying to take it away? That's my question. I'm just sorry. I don't agree with them having guns. I'm just.
Wait, can you ask it again? You cut out. Sorry.
Yeah, you keep cutting out, Kyndal.
Sorry, that's my bad. If you believe that taking away like guns is unconstitutional, like why do you support taking away from this certain person when it's violating the Constitution by taking it away? When they still have every other right, like they have the right of speech, right to lawyer. But
that is a good. I've thought about that a lot. I mean, like you said, I mean, like a lot of people say, the Second Amendment is obviously up for interpretation, but I mean, it also says in the Constitution, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I mean, not in the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. My bad. They have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if you think about it, somebody with a mental disorder. I mean, and I'm gonna throw in an example real quick. If you look at the Columbine shooters, and also Sandy Hook. The Sandy Hook shooter, he had mental problems, and Columbine shooters were also diagnosed as psychopaths after the shootings. If you look back at a lot of shooters, they have mental health issues and mental health disorders. And so it gets to a point where if somebody has a mental illness who has a gun, who is threatening somebody else, is threatening to take your life, they're taking away one of your rights, one of your God-given rights, the Declaration of Independence. So it's like, it also falls under, it might be unconstitutional, but you're also taking away somebody else's right to life.
But to someone who considers themselves like a constitutionalist, how would they agree with taking away guns from people that are mentally ill? Because technically a felon still has the right to privacy, they still have but they don't have that one right to a gun. Why is the Second Amendment so limited? Like, why can we put regulations on it when people are saying at the same time, we can't put regulations on it? That's my point. Can it be regulated, or like, can you not put regulations?
It's the same with driving.
I don't think you can put regulations on the gun itself. I think you can put regulations on who can own it. I mean, again, you can look at like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If somebody is threatening to take away your life, they're taking away one of your, and that is an inalienable right, because life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is like, is considered a God-given right. And if they're threatening to take that away, then that's what I could justify it. But a constitutionalist I know would say that they don't believe in any gun restrictions whatsoever. And so, I mean, that's a more of an extreme case. But I mean, when it comes down to somebody threatening your life, they are taking away your right to live.
Just someone who's mentally ill. What if they're not threatening anyone?
I mean, then I don't know.
It's
Wait, what did she ask?
On both sides.
Say it again.
I said, what if they're not threatening your life? What if they just have a mental illness?
Well, I mean, that's a hard question, because like,
if
if they have a mental illness,
though, if you get a DUI charge, you can change and never drink again. Like, just because you have like that one thing that one time.
Well, Kendall, for like the red flag law or whatever, it doesn't have to be like a threat to others. Like, it could also be a threat to themselves. Yeah. Which is another reason why they might want to take it away. It's not just necessarily because it's a threat to other people, like their neighbor, but it's a threat to themselves.
Yeah, and something interesting that a lot of people don't know is suicide by law, at least where I live, is illegal. So, I mean, if they have a gun and they're threatening to take their own lives, technically they're threatening to break a law. It's a weird law, but I mean, they are threatening to break another law. And so it's kind of similar to whenever, let's see, so say there's a criminal who is holding somebody at gunpoint. It's no different than when they get put in handcuffs, detained, and arrested and thrown in jail. They're having their guns taken away from them. It doesn't mean that they have to have their guns permanently taken away from them. It's just, I think that it should be temporary until they get the help they need and they can prove that they have made progress. I don't think it should be a permanent thing.
You believe in like, you can't regulate like the guns, but you can regulate the people, like who can't get them.
Yeah.
Yes, and like I said, I didn't clarify this earlier, but I don't think that. So, say a mentally ill person has their guns taken away. I don't think it has to be permanently. I think that if they're able to be rehabilitated and go through all the steps to get better and can prove that they're in like a good place and can be proven by a professional, they should be able to have them back. So it's not like a forever thing. And if you think about it, it's also going to help people get the help they need mental wise.
Yeah, I agree with the fact that people should get better mental health. It should be more widely. I agree with that.
Yeah, and I think it should be a lot easier to get that mental health help that you need.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a question. So, like, what do you think the original intention of like the Second Amendment was, and like, do you think it is still like needed, or do you think we should change the amendment itself, because that is what an amendment is to be changed? Like, do you think
But they can't be changed anyway.
Well, why is that? Because
the first 10 can't be changed.
Okay, yeah.
Wait, what's
you're right. But the point of an amendment is to be changed. If you have a constitutional convention, you can change it. So
yeah, I think the point of the Second Amendment was, I mean, it quite literally says like, you shall have a well-regulated militia and to protect yourself against a tyrannical government. I mean, if you look back in history, like in 1929, the Soviet Union had established gun control laws, and then from 1929 to 1953, there were 20 million dissidents rounded up and murdered. It's like, that's a tyrannical government. And so the point of our people being able to have those guns is to protect themselves against like tyrannical governments such as that. I mean, like you can literally see it all throughout history. Most genocides or most like mass murders start with gun control and people's rights being taken away and stripped of them.
I don't think you should have your rights taken away. But the Second Amendment has been like interpreted differently in different ways so many times.
Yeah.
Or to like place exactly what it means as like a different person can interpret it differently. But the first time it was interpreted as like you have the right to a gun was 2008. And before that, it wasn't interpreted as you have the right to a gun. That's the first time it was recognized in a court system as you have the right to a gun. And even the judge said that's not the Second Amendment, but it's now that's how everyone views it. And it's just different time periods have different views on different amendments, which is why it's weird because it can be interpreted in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the whole Constitution is literally up for interpretation.
Yeah.
It's like it sucks because like it's not like the founding fathers gave us a handbook of what each and everything means. Which I think is why it's amendable, is because it's literally up for interpretation and can be changed with times. It's a living document.
Well, I think in the Federalist Papers, I think it does like kind of describe like what the intentions of the first 10 amendments are. So like by like that definition, like do you think those should be changed? Because I think that like even though it does say like shall not be infringed, which is like the one big point everybody talks about or whatever, is the Second Amendment the one we need to change the most, do you think?
I think alcohol should be changed. That's just my opinion.
I don't.
So you believe in banning alcohol?
What?
You believe in banning alcohol?
No, I think like the age should be changed. Like that's like the biggest one that I think should be changed. But it's not like in the first 10. But like that's.
But amendments are made to be changed.
Yeah.
Based on modern.
I don't. I really don't. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
I really don't. This is like my personal opinion, but I really don't think that the Second Amendment needs to be amended in any way. I mean, our country, like guns have been a part of our country's culture. I mean, literally since it was founded. I mean, our country was founded like after the Revolutionary War. They literally used guns to found our country. And I mean, whether or not, sorry,
were the guns mass produced when our country was founded?
Were they mass produced?
They weren't even the same guns though.
Yeah, they used muskets. I'm not sure if they're mass produced though. But I mean, if you look at the survey of prison inmates, it was by the U.S. Department of Justice in 2016. They did a survey of all federal and state prisoners, and 56% of the people who had committed a crime with a gun had obtained their gun illegally, whether it was from off the streets, a crime scene, or from an underground market. And 90% of the people that they surveyed obtained their gun illegally and not from a retail source. And so, like, I don't think it's going to stop anything if we amend it or not.
It's a problem with getting to the people who are distributing it, not the problem of banning guns entirely, because people are getting them illegally, obviously.
But they could be stolen. They're not necessarily being just like handed to them.
You cut out, Kyndal.
I said it's more of a you need to find the source of distribution of different places or how they're getting them, rather than putting a ban on all guns. Because I mean, law-abiding citizens aren't going to have them, and they're going. People are. But the thing, legally.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the thing that sucks about it is like, I mean, guns literally come from everywhere. They're smuggled over borders. You can get them off the black market, and it's like, I mean, the FBI and like cybersecurity people have not even been able to shut down the black market, and so it's like. I don't think there's ever going to be a solution to how people obtain guns illegally.
Like illegally, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is like difficult. Like you can't just completely find the source of like shut it down because I'm like you said, the black web, you can't access it. So that's
I think we all like pretty much agree on that.
What about teachers though?
Oh, I was just about to say that.
We changed it.
I was just about to say that. I believe that teachers should not be able to have guns in schools. Like they should not be able to carry them. It's because there's a lot of things that the kids could do. The kids could take the guns. The kids could make the teacher mad, and the teacher could use it on them if, like, you know, or the teacher could maybe not know how to use it properly, even though they've been through training, or the teacher could just like use it in bad ways, I guess. Yeah.
I disagree.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, if I can find the source after this, it's saved in my computer. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I mean, if you look between the year of 1986 and June of 2019, 92% of shootings happened in gun-free zones, which like were places that guns were prohibited, and that includes schools.
Yeah, they're
To me,
Well,
yeah.
I think that study is like kind of flawed if like a school is considered a gun-free zone, and like I think in that study, like the White House is also considered a gun-free zone, but they also have like armed guards everywhere, which is kind of weird. Like I think
Well,
the
like,
definition of what is the gun-free zone is kind of like weird. You think?
well, I mean, I guess
I found it out. Like I've researched it too. That like gun-free zones are like almost 100% the target. Like there was less than 1% of school shootings that happened where it was in an area of armed citizens or the potential to have armed citizens. Like 98% of them were in gun-free.
When you
zones.
have a secure, I mean, every school has a security guard, I'm pretty sure, right?
yeah, like a resource officer.
And they're armed with guns in most circumstances, which is why they're, I mean, in some circumstances, there's more than one. There's like several, which they're to prevent fights within the school and from coming into the school with it. And obviously, I mean, kids can bring them in, but I feel like there could be like ways you can prevent that from happening. Obviously, like some schools have metal detectors, which is like extreme, but it is like that does occur. But I don't think teachers should be able to carry a gun in school just because of the fact that that gun could be so easily stolen
Yeah.
from the teacher, or the teacher could get mad and use it in a bad way, because you never really can trust the people with that. And that's
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you, KP and Brenna, what do you guys think? Like, how would you prevent the teacher from using it in a bad way or kids from like stealing it?
Well, I have like a personal experience to it. At the college that I go to, like we have no security whatsoever. Like there's no cops, there's no campus security. And one of my teachers like was a cop for 20 years. So like I would trust him, as there is like no security, to have it. Like that's what I think. Like I would trust him.
It's
So
different, which is the thing. Yeah.
Jade, I'm sorry, Kyndal.
No, you're fine. Just go.
Jade, your question was what would did you say what would like deter them from stealing the gun?
What would
sorry.
you like? What
Like,
would you?
why would they not use it?
See,
Well,
personally, I don't
yeah.
think. Whenever I say I don't think it'd be a bad idea to have, and when I say teachers being armed, I don't mean every teacher on campus. I mean like having like one or two. But I don't think that if, say, hypothetically, we had teachers who were armed with firearms on campus, I don't think that they should be in a holster on their waist. There are safes that have like fingerprint, where they can only be open with your fingerprint.
But the factor, sorry.
Say it again.
The factor is of how are they going to pay? I mean, that's a common question.
That's true. I don't know. That's the thing. I'm not even gonna. I don't know. Though I don't think that if we were to have teachers carrying guns, I don't think they should be on a holster on their waist, because obviously like anybody can grab it. But if we did have them, I think they should be.
Know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of do need to know. I mean, if you're sending your kid to school with, I think it's important to know. But
well, the kids don't have to know though, like which teachers have a gun.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I agree.
You can hide it very easily.
Yeah, I agree. But I think if they were to be armed, I think they need to be in a safe. And also I think that the teachers should have some sort of like background experience, and like not just you can't just pick a teacher. Yeah, like you can't just pick a teacher and say, "Oh, you seem cool." Like I think that somebody with prior military experience or law enforcement, or just somebody who has prior experience and can go through courses and background checks if that were to happen.
Available to arm all of these teachers.
Sorry?
If we have the money to arm all of the teachers that need to be armed and pay for their training, their gun training, I mean, I feel like they should have to go through training, but I don't get where the money would come from, as it hasn't really been like a plan for that.
Right. I mean, personally, I don't think arming teachers should be a top priority of our country. I think maybe we could increase the amount of resource officers that are on campus, but then again, that would increase in a demand for the amount of police officers that we need applying and working for whatever area. So it just like there's so many. It's like a domino effect.
Yeah, it's how many people, you can't really change it.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't allow teachers to carry guns, because then you're going to run out of money to supply with other things it's going to take out from stuff.
But you can, if the teacher already, like if they have a past experience with a gun, they more than likely already have a gun themselves.
Or
So
if they
why
have,
do
like,
you
their
have to
concealed
supply
carry.
a gun?
Bring their own.
Yeah,
gun.
like they have a pistol on them already.
Should
If they
they
Yeah,
have, like, their
but
CCW.
regulate?
I think that instead of like taking all the money into teachers getting guns, I think we should have much more like security instead.
Can
I
you
think that'll
define,
be
but
a lot
can you
better.
define security? Do you define it as like a security
Like
guard or like
resource,
a police
like,
officer?
yeah, like resource officers that we
Yeah,
are.
I
Well,
mean,
for the Parkland shooting, didn't the resource officer leave the school? So
mhm.
like,
Yeah,
wouldn't-
that
wouldn't-
was
he
stupid.
didn't go
Yeah,
in like he
which
was
is-
supposed to.
yeah, so obviously the training in that case isn't really working. I don't know if it's necessarily specific to that school. Maybe it didn't work, but do you think it would be better to have a police officer there? Like, not just one, but multiple, do you think?
Yeah, I think we should have multiple. It
Brenna,
it really
you're saying
depends.
no, so like, I want to see why you say no.
Okay.
I just
Depends on
like I don't see it because I already know like there's a lot of places that struggle with hiring police officers themselves, and in order to be an SRO, you have to have like patrol experience. So it takes a long time to get in that process of becoming an SRO because you have to have like on the street experience before you can like work with students and prepare for like a mass shooting like that. So I think like trying to not force, but like have officers, like more and more of them in the schools, it's going to take a long time to get them prepared for that. And it's going to increase the need for officers, which we already in how it is right now
It's like supply and demand.
are in a big need.
It's
Isn't
like
it to protect us though? That the job of the police is to protect and serve the community.
yes.
But you just can't become an SRO until you have experience.
Yeah.
I mean, we have, at the college that I'm at, the school has their own, like, department. So there could be something like that. But then again, like, you're not going to have your own department at an elementary school.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like at my school, my middle school, we don't have like someone that stays at the school all the time, but we have an officer that like comes around occasionally, but he doesn't like stay at our school, and it
We have 3 at ours, so that's like a big difference.
Brenna, are you at a high school?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Jade, I'm guessing you're at a high school too, right?
no, I'm in a middle school.
You're in a middle school. Okay, so
Yeah.
like I know from my community, we have like the one school resource or the one police officer in the town going between 3 schools. So like obviously as schools like as there's more grades, there's going to be more kids throughout the like school. Do you think it would be better to put one kid in each school or kind of like and then or one officer in each school, and as like once it gets up to like high school, do you think you have 2 or 3 there, or
Does
I think it really
like do you think it like for my community it's like one between 3 schools, 2 elementary and 1 middle, and then we have 1 in the high school? Do you think we should like increase the amount for the high school and then have 1 per elementary and middle?
well
Like
usually
nationwide.
well
Sorry,
yeah
that's
usually
kind of hard to describe.
yeah I understand what you're trying to say. Usually high schools have a lot more people, so I think, and they usually have like more fights than an elementary school, and so I think more people would feel unsafe at a high school. So I think we should have more resource officers and more like security guards at a high school.
My high school is smaller than my middle school, which like that's gonna change once they go to high school. But like I said, we have 3 in our middle school, but we have 1 in my high school, and then we have 1 in all 3 elementary schools. So like we have a lot. But,
like do you have 1 per elementary school,
No,
or
they
is
have
it
1
one for all 3 together?
It's 1 for all 3 elementary schools, and then it's 3 for just the middle school, and then it's 1 for the high school. So that's like 4, I think, 5.
We have
Like between all of the schools.
In my town, we have a ton of elementary schools. We're a pretty big town, but so I don't know how many elementary schools we have, but we have at least 10. And I think there's 1 or 2. I don't know the exact number, but they don't stay there. And at our middle schools, we have 6 middle schools, I think. I don't know the exact numbers. And I think we have 3 for all 6 of them. And we have 3 high schools, and we have 2 at each high school, I'm pretty sure.
For me, I would call it a town. We don't have a city hall, but I call it a town because it's super small. We have, I don't know how many high schools like within our area. I think we have 2 or 3. But we had 3,700 kids at the high school I graduated from, and we only had I think, one resource officer, maybe two, but half the time they weren't even really there. They were going back and forth to other schools around our town. And so I know you guys were talking about how, I think it was Brenna, you said something about a school resource officer having to have patrol experience. I mean, as a middle ground, maybe we could find a way to speed that up or train police officers who are specifically going to be school resource officers to have that job of being on a school campus.
Yeah.
But
So does anyone have like, I know like most of you, I think at least, would agree for like some gun control. Is that like true? Like, do you think we need
Yeah.
some?
I think
KP?
it's okay right now.
You think
What
it's
do
okay
you
right
mean?
now?
Yeah.
I don't think we need any gun. I'm for universal background checks, obviously. I think everybody should have to go through a background check. But I don't think there should be any restrictions on, or bans and regulations on the types of guns we can own.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
anybody
I'm
here.
against
I don't
red
think.
flag laws.
Yeah, I don't think anybody. You're against red flag laws.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
you
that
have-
I think they need to adjust red flag laws
Yeah,
and be
I
more
think they should.
specific as to what can
Okay,
happen,
yeah,
because
like,
I think
yeah.
a
the
lot of
way that
people
they
can
are
take
right now, like,
advantage
the way
of
that they're
it.
written.
But yeah, like the way that they're written, I mean, is set up so anybody can accuse anybody of anything and have their guns taken away without any like evidence, and that's a problem, because somebody could literally have it out for you and then go to a judge and like tell a complete lie with no evidence. But I think that those could be rewritten. But
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for the people who like think we need gun control. What specific laws do you think we need to implement to reduce violent crime or gun crime in general?
I think that if you, hold on, I'm gonna get the exact names. Universal background checks. I think we should have gun identification requirements, gun licensing laws, and yeah. And I think
Can
hold on. I think if you are like a domestic abuser or like a stalker, then you should not be able to have a gun.
domestic abusers are already not allowed to own guns.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think
that I'm
people
just
are-
saying. Yeah, I'm just saying. Well, actually, wait.
People who have
You can't be a cop if you have one. If you have any
41 states do not force convicted domestic abusers from re-getting guns that they already, like, from giving back guns that they already own.
Yeah,
41 states.
Isn't
earlier
it a felony though?
infringement.
Yeah, if you have a domestic violence, if you have a felony of a domestic abuse or domestic violence on your record, you cannot own a gun. I
But
believe.
why-
I don't know if that's for all states, but
Well,
Why
41 states don't. That's what I
Basi-
got.
The thing
41
is,
states.
Yeah.
why that?
They don't like require you to give your gun back.
what's that source? Where is it from?
AmericanProgress.org and everytown.org.
Okay.
But why should that one amendment be taken away? What about the other one? They still have every other right, but like that one, and people can't be infringed, but they're taking it away from different people for different exceptions, which is an infringement, so to speak.
Well, if you don't feel comfortable with teachers having guns, then you shouldn't feel comfortable with prior domestic abusers.
I don't.
having guns.
I'm speaking to another. I don't feel comfortable with that. I'm speaking to a different side.
So like, are there any specific laws you want, Kendall, or?
Specific laws. I support universal background checks and checks.
Okay.
There's, I found something. It's on lawcentergiffords.org. I mean, it says like federal law prohibits those who have been convicted of those who have been convicted of violent or gun-related misdemeanors, those who have a history with using alcohol or drugs, convicted juvenile offenses, or suffer from mental illness are generally not allowed to own a gun.
So generally, that's not nationwide.
And also, yeah, it says generally. And then it also says that people who fall within certain categories, such as convicted felons, domestic abusers, and people with specific kinds of mental histories.
But that's an infringement. If you believe that it can't be infringed no matter what, that technically is an infringement to take it away from certain people. It's one amendment that is like that. I mean,
Right, but then that also falls into if they're threatening somebody's life, like I said earlier, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, you're also threatening that God-given right as well.
mental health. Like they're not.
Sorry, say it. Can you repeat it again? You keep cutting out.
Yeah.
To mental health. I mean to threatening someone, speaking to mental health, like in domestic abuse said, they weren't like killing someone. This is they're injuring someone. So it's technically not taking that person's life. I don't support them having guns, but for the people who say there should be no infringements, I don't understand the point of them not allowing that person to have a gun, but they're basically infringing that own amendment.
Right. I understand. I understand where you're coming from on that one. I agree. Because I know if a true constitutionalist would have a problem with that, because I mean they don't believe and anything should be infringed at all under that, right? But
Well, I think the idea of this, the idea of the Second Amendment is so that the people are safe, and so like I guess the red flag law which is taking away the guns, so people are safe and for themselves and for others. I don't necessarily think that would be an infringement or like against like unconstitutional, because
But you're not proving anything.
No, but I'm saying in the case that you are proving something, I don't think that would be an infringement, because it's you're helping others, you're like saving somebody. Quite
If
possibly.
they can, like, prove that they have, like,
if it
mental
is
health problem.
yes, if it is 100% proven by like maybe 2 or 3 doctors. I don't think you should just go through one doctor and say, "Oh, well, he has depression." Well, there's different doctors that have different requirements, I think. Do you guys want to move on to like abortion now? Which I think will be
Sure.
Okay. So does anybody want to start with where they are personally, and then we'll just go around? Or do you think everybody already knows?
Well, I'll say.
I think
okay.
no.
I think everybody knows, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
I think that every woman should have the option to have an abortion, because it's like you gotta have an abortion if you need one. It's gonna be I don't really know what I'm trying to say. I don't know how to say it, but I'll get to that later. But I think it is a right to have an abortion, and every woman should be able to get one if she needs one. And
can you?
I don't really know how to explain it.
Can you further define what like you mean by need one? Like,
yeah.
What are the requirements for needing one? Since you seem to.
If you are like poor, if you were raped, if you it's like a medical like thing that you're not going to survive through the pregnancy, then I think.
Well, I think the chance of you not surviving is like pretty low. Like I think,
but
the mother,
if like a doctor says like,
saved.
Well, if a doctor's like this is not safe, then I think you should be able to get an abortion.
Okay, that's understandable.
Yeah.
So do you think abortion should be able to be accessible as a form of birth control?
No, not at all. No, you should not be able to like. I don't think that.
So like when I say birth control, I mean like if I mean like what I mean by birth control, I mean like say a woman is being irresponsible, doesn't use protection, no contraceptions whatsoever, and gets pregnant, and that, I mean, my opinion, that's her fault. Do you think that since she was being irresponsible, not taking all the steps to be careful, do you think that she should be able to have an abortion as a form of birth control?
Well, I disagree that a lot, like that you should be able to get one like a lot. It's not good for like to have like, I don't really know how to explain it, but I don't think that you should be able to use it as like a form of birth control.
Can I add to the fact that what goes into having an abortion, you don't decide, oh yeah, I'm gonna have an abortion now. I mean, it's mentally and physically traumatic. I mean, many of the people who've had abortions often have PTSD afterwards. So it's not just that people will just abuse that power.
Yeah.
There's exceptions for everyone. Could want to abuse power, but not necessarily. Can I hear like you guys' thoughts on like what week do you think it should be banned at, or if you think it should be banned at?
Well, let me look.
I'm 20 for myself.
Yeah.
You're what?
You're 20.
21st week.
21st week. Okay.
Oh.
All right. Brenna, you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. I'm pro-life across the board. I'm gonna get a lot of crap for that, but I'm pro-life across the board. I don't think I'm kind of iffy when it comes to rape and incest and a woman's life being in danger. I don't really know how I feel about that, but I am completely against abortions as a form of birth control, in
Yeah,
my
same.
opinion, because to me, the moment that you have sex, I mean, everybody knows the moment that you have sex, it's a possibility you can get pregnant, whether or not you're on birth control, you have an IUD, using protection, or not. And so, in my opinion, as soon as you have sex, you're consenting to the possibility of getting pregnant. It's not that you're not consenting to being pregnant. It's that you're consenting to having sex, which could result in being pregnant. And so it's like,
You're
that's
iffy
how
on-
I feel.
You said you're
Sorry?
iffy on. You said you're iffy on rape, but that it requires consent to be able to consent to that. Oh yeah, I know this could result in a child, but you're
Right.
iffy
I
on
mean, I like when I say I'm iffy on it. I mean, I'm not going to judge a woman for having an abortion if she is raped. Do I believe that every potential life has a value, whether it's from someone being raped or somebody having consensual sex? Yes, I believe that every potential life does have a value. But I'm not going to go and judge a woman who is going to be raped, and I don't really have an opinion on whether or not they should be banned for instances of rape or not. I'm like, that's the part where I'm. Say it again.
When do you believe life starts?
Conception.
Okay.
Like human development starts at conception. I mean,
So you are against Plan B?
Are you?
no.
No. So you support Plan B. Okay, that makes sense.
Brenna, how do you feel like about abortion?
Yeah,
Like, when do you think? I like. Are you across the board like KP?
Yeah, like I'm
Okay.
from the start. Like,
Okay. How do you guys feel about contraceptives being free?
I
I
get
believe
do
that
you
they
think-
should be free.
Okay,
yes.
Brenna,
Or-
you
I
shook
can't
your head. Brenna, did you
I
shake
think
your head?
like if you can't afford it, then you shouldn't have it.
But that's people aren't gonna do that. I mean,
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
that's why you can't teach abstinence.
But
in
then
school.
that's your choice if you get pregnant. Like if it's your
Exactly.
responsibility if you get pregnant.
And you can't complain about the abortion rates being how they are if you're not.
Yeah.
But that's a mistake. Like that was your mistake. So like that's a form of birth control at that point.
I don't think that all contraceptives should be free. But if you go to Target, I don't think that the contraceptives like condoms at Target should be free. But
Oh, no.
you do have options. Like you go to Planned Parenthood, college campuses have free condoms. Even high school campuses have free condoms. Planned Parenthood has free condoms. It's like you do have options in order to be able to get those contraceptives. But I don't think that they should be free across the board.
But condoms are 98% effective when used correctly. But since so many people aren't taught how to use it, they're only 85% effective in term. So if someone uses a condom and they're like, "Oh, I don't have a kid, but I'm gonna have sex anyway," because 57% of seniors are sexually active. They're still gonna, just because it's like they have the drive to have sex. They're still gonna have sex, but they have this small chance of getting pregnant, and when that pregnancy occurs, they're not going to be financially stable enough to carry the child to term. And adoption is not the perfect solution because of all the kids in adoption while the system, so there's parents waiting. But when the woman gives birth, if she's going to set the child up for adoption, if she gives birth, she's going to feel attached to the baby when it's born. I mean, it happens it's like how birth works. When you are going through labor, you're not thinking correctly because your hormone levels are so out of whack that you can think differently instead of logically. And whenever you have the baby, you might want to keep it when you first have it, and then a couple months in, you can't financially, and you'll just go into debt.
But
And
there's programs that help single mothers.
Obviously, there's exceptions to that.
Okay, yeah,
But
wait, let me find it. I'm trying to 76% of the women who were denied abortions ended up on unemployment benefits. And 44% of the women who had abortions were on unemployment benefits. So if you're gonna we need, are you for reforming the unemployment benefits and stuff like that, social government stuff like that?
But the unemployment benefits, doesn't that fall under? I mean, define. Is that speaking for single women who have a significant other in the life who are helping paying
Just like
child
in
support, who
general,
aren't paying child support.
women in general.
Because you also have to look at like whether or not somebody is also paying child support and other things. But you asked if we're in favor of
Like government stuff, like I don't really know how to explain it. Government
Like
programs
a
that
reform,
help,
like a reform, or
yeah, like improving
is-
government stuff that help
Hmm.
single moms.
Well, I mean, I'm for that. I mean, if it's going to help single moms,
I would
and
rather
it can.
see funding for abortions go to programs for single moms, if that's what you're asking.
what about like programs like the foster care system and those things? Like, would you be open for like a reform in that? Because I think there's like 400,000 kids in the system, like ready, like in the system, and then there's like 100,000 up, like ready for adoption. But I know there's a lot more parents, but it's still like a long process. How, like, do you
Right.
think a reform would be better, like to change
Well,
that?
I mean, I mean, it's a long process, but then again, like, you're talking about a child's life, like, you want it to be a long process. You want to
Yeah.
make sure that the home that they're going into is safe and not going into the hands of somebody who's going to kill them or abuse them or, like, not provide them with the needs that they need to be provided with. So, I mean.
But then the education rates of children in foster care are they're so much, like, less likely to get a high school, to graduate high school, to get a college degree.
Yeah.
And that just, like, it makes you wonder, like, why? There needs to be
But
some
there's
sort of,
people that live in like settled homes that drop out of high school.
I'm just saying the rates are way higher for those that are in foster care. I don't have the exact percentage, but that's the argument. I have a question. Do you support, so with abortion, I know you're against it, support banning it?
Not completely.
So what week?
To what week?
Yeah.
I don't know what week, because I don't think it's used as like a form of birth control. But like for cases of rape, I mean, if it was to be a case of rape, I would say before when was the heartbeat? They can, since the heartbeat, what week is it? 8?
It's like 3.5 weeks. You can like, with advanced technology, find a heartbeat.
It's a sporadic, so it's only in the lower cavity of the heart because it's not fully developed until, I can't remember the exact week, but it's a sporadic heartbeat until about the 3rd week when it becomes a steady rhythm, which isn't factors. That means the lower brain is functioning brain until the 24th week, where you have both the upper and the lower brain function to be able to feel that pain.
It can still feel though, like it can, like without outside sources.
The only part of the baby that can feel is when it has both the upper and the lower brain, which is there till the 24th week of the brain connectivities.
Yeah, pain cannot be felt till the 30th week, and the baby isn't even awake then.
Why? What do you have to like show that? Like, what is your source? Like, what are you saying?
Livescience.com is my source.
But what makes them like sentient? Like, what makes them able to, like you said, respond? Like,
wait, what?
like you said, they can feel. Like, are there certain things that, like, there's like fibers or there's nerves? Like, what is developed at that point to make them able to?
Let me look.
Of life.
Hmm?
A baby can maintain homeostasis. The oldest was 21 weeks, I believe, and that's one of the qualities of life that I believe is, like, the baby's alive, because it can maintain life without support from another outside source.
But
just
then,
because
like,
they can't live
but were
without
you?
something doesn't mean it's not still like
It's a
like,
development.
living.
Not a
It's
development.
but if you draw the line there, because they can live outside the womb without any other sources providing them life. It's like you look at people who are in vegetative states, they can't live without ventilators, and they can't live without.
That person that has maintained consciousness.
Yeah.
If they're brain dead, they're not maintaining consciousness. They're brain dead. Hold on, I can't hear you.
You keep cutting out. Yep.
You keep
Kindle.
cutting out, Kendall.
Sorry, my Wi-Fi is crap. I'm not speaking in cases of brain dead. I'm just speaking of cases of coma. If you're brain dead, you've signed like a form say they can take your life. I believe that should be available to you.
Right, yeah.
But even
it's like
then, in like while you're in a coma, I don't know if you're able to like respond to your environment, which is also a characteristic of life. And like you said, homeostasis is part of characteristics of life. And wouldn't that kind of like equal out then? Like when, since you're saying that, like, I don't know how I'm trying to explain it, but do you kind of get where I'm going with this? Or
I understand what you're saying.
yeah.
That
So like for you to use the argument, well, that's when it's at homeostasis, then it's alive. Well, then, like, I'm sorry. Just go on, whatever. Never mind. It's hard to word it.
okay. So you don't support abortion, but you don't support a ban.
Sorry?
You don't support abortion like orally, but you don't support a ban.
Yes.
Okay, because like you can see how ineffective bans have been. Like
Yeah.
in like the 1960s, they tried to ban and it ended up having a death rate higher than the birth rate. So I mean that's just how ineffective bans are. But if you look at like afterwards, they have this like huge influx of abortions, which happened in the U.S. after Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
Huge influx, million abortions, but we're down like there's a certain percent, I can't remember the exact percent, but we're down to like in 2013 there was like 60,000 abortions and 112% increase of those in the first 8 weeks than it was before 20. So obviously you can see that the rates are decreasing as it's becoming more regular.
All right. I had a oh crap, I had a question. Oh man. Oh, I lost. Oh, well so for abortion, do you consider abortion the termination of a human life?
In what sense? I don't support it after the first week.
No, yeah, no. It's not a leading question at all. It's literally just one question. Like, do you think that an abortion is the termination of a life?
It's the potential of a life. It's different.
Yeah.
Necessarily. It's a developing life, yes, but not a human like life breathing. Or I think it's the termination of a potential life, which is the same with stem cell research, which is why so many people are because it's the potential of life against the actual human life itself, which it
And that's at any point in any term.
21 weeks.
No, but do you believe that it's not a termination of human life throughout any term?
No. I believe that once you're into like after 21 weeks, I believe that is a termination of life because that baby has the potential to live on outside the womb. And so it's just like a potential of life before that. But once it's 21 weeks, it's able to live outside the womb. So technically, it does have life.
But by the end of the 8th week, it's considered a fetus, which is also considered an unborn baby. And so an unborn baby is alive. I mean, a zygote itself is alive because it holds the DNA of another human.
Yeah, it has
of a human specific to itself.
It has every quality of life, which is the thing. Which is why I believe once it can maintain homeostasis, it has the quality of life to be able to have its own life outside of the mom.
Mm-hmm.
So until
But what about in cases of like if a mom were to like be in danger, trying to like deliver the baby before 21 weeks, like would you rather that be tried or would you rather just go to an abortion?
I mean, it's her personal choice. If she chooses to have that abortion, sure. If she chooses to try to give birth to it, sure. It's her personal health. That's at risk because there hasn't been a birth before 21 weeks. That's the earliest birth recorded. So I believe it's not. I mean, it could be possible, but it's very, very small chance that baby will be delivered. So it's the mom's choice.
Because if you're at least giving an attempt to give birth to it, you're not like denying it like a chance, you know, like with an abortion you're denying it a chance, but like with an at least attempt to give birth to it, you're not denying it, you're like at least trying, and if it doesn't live then like you did what you could. But like with an abortion you're not even giving it the chance to.
Can you guys hear me? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Sorry.
Because if it wasn't in the mom, it wouldn't be surviving on its own. If it was outside of the womb at 8 weeks, it wouldn't survive on its own. So technically, that potential of life wouldn't be completed. It would die.
But a
No matter-
2-year-old can't survive on its own either,
A
without
what?
any guidance from adults.
I'm saying no. It can maintain homeostasis. It can't like survive. I'm talking about it can't breathe out. That baby can survive. It just needs a parent to help it. In that sense, it's completely different. It's talking about a baby being able to be alive, or a baby completely just like living alive.
Do you guys like use the argument that it's a clump of cells, or like, or do you guys have like a different opinion from that?
I don't use that argument. I
Yeah.
be right with that argument.
Like neither of you use it?
No, because technically we're all cells in a way.
Yeah.
We're all composed of millions of. So I don't use that argument. Technically, I'd like to go more biology of the child than just saying, oh, it's just a clump of cells. Like, because it's not comprehensible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
So how do you guys feel about Roe v. Wade?
What?
Like, how do you feel about Roe v. Wade? Like, do you think, like, are you in support of it, or because I think it talks about how like it's pretty like hard to get an abortion after like once the third trimester starts. So like Kendall, like you said you don't like till 21 weeks. Like, would you want to change that in a way to 21 weeks, or do you think it should stay at like third trimester start?
I don't support into the third trimester or after the 21st week because I mean that baby can live on its own.
Yeah.
But
I have to put myself on mute real quick, but I'm gonna be listening.
Okay.
that's my view. I don't think it should be legal because technically that if that baby was outside the woman, it could live on its own. That's why
Yeah.
I would have it after the 21st week.
So then, would you want to change like the rule in Roe v. Wade to make it 21 weeks?
But states differ from that anyways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is
It
true.
definitely the percentage. I think it's only like 2% of abortions that even happen in the third trimester. So it's just that small amount. So it's not really going to affect like legal abortions. It's going to affect like moving it up because they're still so they're going to have it at the 21-week mark, but they're not going to be able to have it after, which is what I support.
So what about, okay, when do you think, so what about, I mean, in the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, do you think they only have that right once they are outside of the womb?
Technically, it's not a human yet.
Yeah.
It's the potential because
But it's,
but like this. I mean, the census just came, so look at this. Pregnant women, their babies aren't counted as a child. They're not counted into the census as a child yet because they're not. They're the potential of life because anything could happen during that pregnancy to prevent that life. So accurate. So technically,
right, but don't they have, since it is a
human
potential life, don't they have the right to potentially live?
they don't have that right until they are able to live on their own. Until they can maintain homeostasis, they don't have the right because technically they aren't even able to breathe.
So after 21 weeks, you think that they are alive though, and they have those rights?
Yeah.
Because
After
they can.
Yeah. I agree.
They should be able to have the right of life.
Well, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you guys think that, like, whenever you give birth, it should be a lot cheaper? Because a lot of women get abortions because during the pregnancy, you have to do a lot of stuff that costs a lot of money, and they just can't afford that, so they just get an abortion instead. Like, pregnancy and a whole kid costs more than $30,000. Like, it's crazy expensive, and that's why a lot of women get them because they can't afford it.
In cases of like rape though, like you obviously like didn't have that choice, but like if you consensually have sex, like you run the risk of having a child or getting pregnant.
Well, abortions are going to happen no matter what.
Yeah, it's been proven. I mean, like I said in the Romania case study, they still had it was the rich women who paid right to give them these abortions.
But at that point, it is a form of birth control.
The
Then.
poor people afford them, have them illegally, which led to 11,000 plus deaths in that time period from 1966 to 83, I think. So, I mean, in that time, and if you count the baby life, that's technically 2,000 lives, 10,000 lives, and 10,000 potential lives.
But if you consensually have sex, like regardless of what you say, like if you get an abortion, like that's a form of birth control. Like you made the choice to begin with, and then you're making the choice like, oh, I wasn't safe about it, or an accident happened, I made a mistake. Now I'm gonna get an abortion for it.
Sometimes they are safe though. A lot of times it's a flaw in the contraceptive.
Sorry, it cut out. It cut out. My bad.
It's all good.
Wait, what was the last word that you said?
I said it's a flaw in the contraceptive and not a flaw in their use of protection. Sometimes it's a flaw. Like they put on the condom wrong. They forgot to take their birth control, something like that. I mean,
But even then,
Yeah, and
you are
it can
still
fail anyway. Even if you do all the things right, it can still fail.
effectiveness rate, there's still a chance that it'll fail. And you're not consenting to have a child if you're taking the proper medication and using the proper protection to not have a child. You're saying, I don't
But
want
you
to have a
are,
child.
because there's still those rates of it not working.
Yeah, but you are still going to take the measures to make sure you don't. And then sometimes it'll just not work out. And obviously, people aren't. The reason why it works out some of the time is because people aren't taught the correct to have safe sex in sex ed class. They're taught abstinence, and abstinence is just a flawed argument because 57% of seniors are sexually active, like I said before. And like it's the people, it's their drive to have sex. Obviously, I mean, they want to do it, and they're not just gonna stop having sex. It's about teaching them to protect and teaching them the correct usage of contraceptives.
Yeah, and giving them free access to contraceptives.
Yeah, which is why I advocate for free birth control, as it can be from around $0 to $50, depending on how you get it. I believe that it should either the prices should be lower and more available, or it should be free. Just because of the fact that I don't want abortion, I want people to have less abortions. So I think the fact that this will prevent.
Okay, I have two questions for Brenna and KP. They're not like I'm not trying to change the topic. I'm just asking like these questions. Are you guys like pro death penalty, and do you
I
eat
knew you were
meat?
gonna ask that. Say it again.
Are you pro death penalty, and do you eat meat?
Yes, I'm pro death penalty, and yes, I eat meat. And
So okay, let me say
Go-
something. So
for it.
for death penalty, don't you think that they have a right to life? So why are you for the death penalty? That makes absolutely no sense. That's literally hypocritical.
Too.
Why am I
You're
for-
for the death penalty? If you get a death penalty, though, like you're sentenced to it, you did something where you
A
either
lot of
took
times-
away, or like a lot
4% of
lives.
people on death row.
She
There's been
froze.
So that's not a good argument.
Jade, you
Wait,
froze.
she like paused.
Yeah, you
Wait,
froze.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. 4% of people on death row are innocent, but they don't necessarily know that until after. So I think it's just pointless that you guys think that everybody should have life, but you want to kill people that could be possibly innocent.
The people that are sentenced to death, though, like the people that like did do something, like they're already people. Like they made their own life choices. Like if you're in the womb, like you're
I mean,
not making any choices. So
Kendall,
that's why
I can
there is
hear
the
you.
pro-life movement.
Why should they get to die? Like this person gets to die. They get to end their life short. They basically just ignoring their consequences. I think they should rot in jail.
Yeah, and a lot
I
of
don't-
people who commit crime, like violent crimes, have mental health issues. So I don't understand why we should kill them instead of like focusing on rehabilitation. Like
The
that's
way-
their
the-
that's their right.
the
That's
reason-
that's
Because
right to
the
life.
percentage of them are down anyway. Like the percentage of them of actually committing the crimes are really low anyway.
Sorry, it's kind of froze. Well, I just don't understand why you guys are pro-life until it comes to the death penalty.
Yeah,
Because pro-life isn't for everyone. It's for unborn babies. That's the point of the movement.
So you're just pro-birth. You're not pro-life.
pro-birth.
Wait, what?
So
You're
you're
just pro-birth.
pro-forced birth, not pro-life.
If that's what you equate it to. But it's the same with
Well,
pro-choice.
that's what you're saying
You're
because you
pro-abortion.
said you don't
Well,
value the life of.
I think you're getting off topic with the idea that like there's a difference between a fetus and then somebody who was a serial killer. Those are two different things, and I feel like I'm not trying to like argue for one side, but I've that you're kind of getting off topic with that. You can't.
Well, I'm just saying that they
Well,
say they like value all life except for
Okay,
like,
here's
them.
the way I see it. Okay, so I'm pro-life, right? I'm against abortions, okay? You take somebody who has committed capital murder, because anybody who commits capital murder is up for the death penalty. They deprived somebody else of their life. So I'm pro-life for a baby, for the unborn, right? But somebody just took the life of an innocent person and committed capital murder.
If
They're
I got
depriving somebody else of their life.
killed, I
So,
would not want.
and when you put somebody, but that's like personal. Not everybody who is in prison not everybody in prison is sitting there feeling guilty for what they did. If you watch I Am a Killer on Netflix, a lot of them said that they would have done it again and again and again and don't feel bad for it.
Like,
And you're putting them in a prison where they can also hurt other inmates and take the lives of other inmates, and they're getting privileges that some of us also get. 3 meals a day. They're able to.
Non-violent offenders. That's not. I'm not saying with non-violent offenders. I'm saying with people who have like done these terrible crimes. I don't think they should be killed. I think they should just rot in a jail cell.
Yeah.
When I don't think.
Right, but not all of them feel bad for it. And then you're putting them in a jail where they can.
I'm saying no in isolation. I don't think they should be around criminals that aren't non-violent.
Yeah.
Right, but you can't keep them in isolation for a life sentence.
I mean,
and how do you
Isn't that what a life sentence is? Like, not everybody on life sentence.
Well, no, like solitary. Were you referring to solitary confinement or no?
Kyndal.
Huh? What did you say?
Were you referring to solitary? It froze, I think. Were you referring to solitary confinement, or were you referring to just being in prison?
No, solitary confinement.
Say it again?
Solitary confinement.
So you believe like keeping them in a cell separated away from all human interaction?
Yep.
Yeah, I think we should focus on rehabilitation instead of just killing them.
So you want to rehabilitate you want to focus on rebuilding a capital murder, or somebody who is shot in school and back into society?
Or Ted Bundy.
Well, I think she was talking about rehabilitation for like that person that's like just not on death row, like someone that's there for like.
Of course.
Or are you talking about rehabilitation for somebody on death row?
Well, if someone on death row has like mental health issues that have never been resolved, like, then I think we should focus on rehabilitation. We shouldn't like let them free in the world, but we should try to help them instead of just.
So that includes serial killers, who the majority of them say that they would do it over and over and over again, have no remorse for it.
I'm not talking about serial killers to do it. I'm talking about the ones who are mentally, like, they've been diagnosed with like schizophrenia or something. It's a different personality coming up.
Right. Like multiple personalities. Yeah. I get that, but I don't think they should be reintroduced into society at all.
Well, yeah, obviously.
But I had a question. I had a question for Jade. When you say, do you eat meat, does that also include hunting, or are you just asking if we eat meat?
Like, do you eat? Yeah, hunting. Hunting is also
okay. The problem I have with that argument. The problem I have with that argument is that you can't be pro-life and hunt. Is that you look back to early American history.
Okay, continue.
You look back to early American history, Native Americans, I mean, they hunted out of necessity. There are still people who live off the land who hunt out of necessity. I mean, protein is an essential part of what keeps you alive. You have to have protein, whether that be from meat or other options. I know there's other options.
Okay.
But if somebody does not want to go vegan and does not want to go vegetarian and they still want to eat meat, they can. And the thing is with hunting isn't just used to kill animals. The majority of the time, hunting is used for nourishment for people to have food. The thing is, like, that's a completely bogus argument, because if people are hunting and hunting for food to nourish their bodies, they're hunting for a necessity because they need protein. You're not aborting fetuses to nourish your body. That's a
I
completely
agree with
bogus.
hunting. Balances out the ecosystem.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
That too.
But like, still, if you say you're pro-life and you value all life, then I don't understand how you could also like eat meat, because that's just hypocritical. Because you're
Well,
ending
I
the life of
need-
an
I-
animal, but you're saying that
I need to live.
I don't eat meat and I'm alive.
Right, and you're pro-choice, and you're saying that if you're pro-choice, then you should be pro-choice in whether I get to choose to hunt or not, whether I get to choose if I want to eat meat or not. If I want
Well,
to
I'm
choose to be
just
able
saying
to-
that if you can't call yourself pro-life if you don't value all
pro-life
life.
doesn't
That's you guys.
pro-life-
pro-life is for humans, not for animals.
Then it's
Animals
the
are alive. What?
pro-human
I
version.
said humans.
Yeah.
Yes, are animals humans like us?
No, but humans are animals.
Can they maintain homeostasis? Yeah.
Are they
They can.
alive? Yes.
I mean,
I
get
think
where
this is kind of
still
like
our
off
plan.
topic. Like I don't think it
Yeah.
really has much to
Yeah,
do
it's been
with
getting off topic.
birth. Like I think we should stick to either like death penalty and abortion and not go off
Yeah.
topic like that. Like it's two entirely different things.
Yeah.
Is there any like questions anybody wants to ask that aren't off topic? Off topic, sorry.
Should we take questions from the comments at all or no?
No, because
We can
they're telling me to shut up right now. I'm trying to be unbiased, but like acting like I don't see them.
Dude,
you
ask
go.
them for topics. We can do another topic.
Okay.
Wait, I have a question for Jade and Kendall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up?
Do you think there should be like special exceptions to babies that like are detected with disabilities before birth, like to not be aborted?
I don't think you should just abort your baby because it has a disability. Like that's obviously
Well,
flawed.
like my mom was like, the doctor told my mom to abort me because I have like something wrong with my like organs, and she didn't, but like she still could have got that choice, and I think she had the right to have that choice,
Yeah,
but obviously she didn't.
not make it morally correct. Just because
Yeah.
they were right doesn't make it morally correct.
From 1998 to 2001, though, 67% of abortions happened after the mother found out that the embryo tested positive for some kind of disability.
That isn't anymore.
I have a question
Yeah.
too. Do you think that abortion should be encouraged or discouraged? And that's kind of a loaded question. Never mind. What do you think a good solution would be that we could implement to deter abortion rates or deter people
I
from
think
seeking abortion as their only option? Because there are multiple options.
free birth control, 100%. Yeah, and teaching sex ed in schools, like mandatory
What
sex
about-
ed,
what
and for
about more-
LGBT people.
What about more pregnancy resource centers?
What do you mean by that? Like,
Pregnancy resource centers where they can go and they can get the things that they need, prenatal care, information
Yeah.
on all their options, stuff like that.
I think we should have that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Pregnant women can't afford their pregnancy, especially if they're the only ones working for an income. So I support like government help in that sort of sense.
So you'd rather see funding go to those programs than like abortion being considered like healthcare?
I mean, I support I'm not like, yeah, go have abortion. Ugh. But I think that it should be available just for the factor of that if it's not widely available, the rate of increases so much and it becomes like way more dangerous. Like if we look at the facts, like if you look at the rate of increase of the danger involved when you put regulations on the abortion, it increases tremendously. Especially if you put it on like first up until the 13th week. That's when like 91% of abortions occur. So if you put a regulation on up to the 13th week, that's obviously going to increase the rate of, that's going to increase our population. It's going to decrease our population at the same time because some people are going to be doing them illegally in back alleys. Rich people are going to prescribe doctors for them.
Yeah.
And coat hanger, like we all know. But I don't think that it should be, like, you guys believe that it's a life in them, right? So if that's one person dead, that's technically two dead in a sense, because it's the child and the woman. So, I mean, I value I value the one living person's life more than I would value life.
Yeah, abortions are gonna happen no matter what. Like, and if they're banned, they're just gonna be unsafe.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Everyone's saying we should talk about. Sorry.
you guys said you're open for another topic, right?
Yeah, everyone's
Sure,
talking about
Yeah,
LGBTQ rights.
I've seen a lot more Confederate flag than I have LGBT.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about the Confederate flag.
Yeah, me neither. I mean,
That's not. I mean, it's. Yeah, that's
I'm
not.
not.
Like,
I'm not really. I'm not really as well-rounded on the Confederate flag as some people are. Some people are asking LGBTQ plus rights.
But we already kind of talked about that with gender.
yeah.
Yeah, with gender, we kind of.
That's true. But
We
do you
really
guys?
talk about like gay and lesbians though, and like bisexuals. We kind of more transgender only.
I had a question about that. Do you guys think that if a gay couple wants to get married, that a church should be forced to marry them?
No.
Okay.
Wait.
So I'm a Christian, but I support LGBTQ people.
Wait, just to get it. So we are talking about LGBT. We're not doing the flag, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But so technically, I don't think it's correct for you to deny someone that right. Like, if they want to get married in church, they identify as a Christian, they have a close relationship with God, and they want to get married in the church. I don't see the problem with doing that. I just don't see how it's that much of an inconvenience when these are the supposed to be bringing to the church. Like, they think that that's a sin. Aren't they supposed to be bringing them to the church and showing them acceptance? Not that I think it's a sin, but I'm saying that these religious officials think it's a sin, and they're trying to bring them to the church, but they're also pushing them away from the church at the same time and making it seem like a less acceptable space.
If you're a Christian though and you believe the Bible, then gay is a sin.
No, it's not.
Well, in the Bible, it also promotes slavery.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
But I mean, you're not. I mean, there's certain parts of the Bible where it's like you can kind of tell it was interpreted for that time, which is up for debate for anything. But I mean, like it says that a woman who's on her period, if she goes into a church, she should be stoned to death. Obviously, we're not going to do that. Like,
yeah.
But I mean, I understand. Like I understand like what you're saying, Kyndal, like 100%. Because like coming from religion, I know people don't like arguing based off of religion, but since this is like, since it's literally like church, I'm going to bring up religion.
The question was church.
Yeah. So, I mean, as Christians, like we're called to like love everybody and treat them like and live a Christian-like life and love everybody and whatnot. But I mean, I believe in like the separation of church and state, like church and like government and everything. So I don't think somebody should be forced to wed a gay couple.
They can, but they don't have to.
Yeah, they can, but they don't have to, because then you're asking somebody.
Well, why not? Doesn't God say He loves everybody? So like,
right? I mean, just because
wouldn't He not have a problem having them like married in the church though?
Right, but it's not wedding a couple is not saying that you don't love them as like a Christian. It's just like when somebody is asked, like when you're asked to put your morals to the side, with your religious morals, it's like you're asking somebody to put all the religious morals on the side to do this.
I'm gonna disagree because I don't think homosexuality is a sin. From my biblical research, I've done extensive research on the Bible just because I've been trying to figure out like if it's a sin or not. And from what I've gathered, the verses, a lot of them are pre-New Testament. They're Old Testament, like Leviticus. So those are obviously, we don't follow Old Testament laws today. We follow the new laws after Jesus was died on the cross, save our sins. But the New Testament verse, I forget the exact chapter, but it specifically says man should not lay with man. But in the original Hebrew text, it says man should not lay with boy, referring to pedophilia. And the other argument there is that it says that sodomy is unnatural, which is the act of like gay sex, but it doesn't say specifically for people. It says for both straight and gay couples. So it's a sin for both. So you can't target them with each other if they're not having sex, but they still love each other. Like they just love each other. it's technically not a sin.
But Matthew is the first book of the New Testament, and it also discusses how marriage is supposed to be between a man and a woman, and that's New Testament.
That's the verse I'm talking about, the man and man, I think.
Matthew?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the New Testament.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at too. Because it says in Matthew chapter 19, verses 4 through 5, Jesus affirms this. He answered, "Have you not read that he who made them from the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one?" And that's in the New Testament. And he said we don't follow laws like from the Old Testament. So like if we're following the ones from the New Testament, you're asking somebody to put their morals to the side to wed a.
Why do you think that it was suggested that the woman and the do have consensual sexual relations? It was suggested that way because of the population at the time. We've gotten to the point where we're almost at our carrying capacity on Earth of 10 billion. But the reason why back then it was they were at such a low population that a lot of them had sexual relations with their cousins and stuff. So that's obviously immoral now too.
Right.
But I'm saying it was sort of for a population at the time, which is why you can't really take it to now.
But you said that we don't follow Old Testament, we follow New Testament, and it says that in the New Testament, and that's going by the Word of God.
Hold on, I'm trying to find the exact verse.
Because there's one in, I think you might be thinking of the one in Genesis at the very beginning of the Bible.
No, it's in James or something. I can't remember the exact chapter, but I just looked at it.
Because it's in the Old Testament and New Testament.
Like from the verse you're speaking of? Oh, it's in Romans. That's the verse I'm talking about. I don't know the verse in Matthew. I'm trying to find it.
The verse in Matthew, it is Matthew chapter 19, verses 4 through 5.
Hold on. Give me a sec.
You're all good.
Wait, in the Bible, does it say like they can't marry a gay couple in the church?
No.
No. It just says that marriage is. It essentially says that marriage is between a man and a
male
woman.
and a female.
So is the marriage not
So then why wouldn't it be allowed in the church then?
It's not saying it's not allowed. It's just.
It's saying it's between a man and a woman, so
Yeah.
it's same sex.
Yeah, but for the churches that don't want to,
If churches don't want to follow it, or if churches want to wed a gay couple, then that's their thing.
Yeah, but what if they don't? Why wouldn't they want to if it's not
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Because the Bible says that marriage is between a man and a woman, and if that goes against their morals, they shouldn't have to feel obligated to do something that goes against their religious values.
Okay.
Because
in the place of worship.
That's the way I see it. Because if we're obviously, the Old Testament, we don't follow what goes in the Old Testament because that was meant for those times. But it's also stated in the New Testament, which is what we are supposed to follow. And as Christians, we're called to follow God's word. I wouldn't use this in any debate or in a normal debate, but since we're talking about religion, then yeah.
No, I'm not religious, so I'm just trying to.
Yeah, me neither. I'm just sitting here
trying to understand KP and Brenna's side because
it's the mistranslation from Hebrew and a lot of the context. I mean, if you know about the slave Bible, the pages were changed and developed to fit a certain political agenda. At the time, they were trying to influence Christian slaves to stay with their masters by thinking it was right, which is the same thing they're doing now with the Bible.
But Hebrew's also Old Testament.
No, I'm talking about Hebrew translation, not the chapter Hebrew.
I thought. Sorry, you cut out at the last part, and I heard just Hebrew.
Originally written in Hebrew, and when it was taken back, it was mistranslated to fit agenda because a lot of people don't speak Hebrew, so you're not going to be able to tell the certain mistranslations that have been in the Bible, which has been proven all the time.
And what are your sources for that?
I'll have to actually. I've done a lot of research on it, so I know I've read a lot of books by gay Christians. And I've read I forget the exact website. I can't find it.
Because I mean, either way, Matthew is like New Testament, no matter whether it was written in Hebrew or not, and so.
Like I said before,
I mean,
it's changed over time. It changed completely, which is why we don't like do something they did back then, which is the same. But I mean, I agree that like it's New Testament, obviously, but it's a completely different argument because of the population at the time.
So
which is why.
Do we have then? If it's changed over time so much, how are we able to figure out that it's changed so much over time, and not have the original book to determine that and show that? And if so, if we do have the original book, then why isn't it translated into the correct terminology?
Like I said before, people trying to fit a political agenda. It's just difficult to understand the exact points it's trying to make, as it can be interpreted in many ways to fit a different agenda.
Right. No, I understand that, but like you said, when it was translated and misinterpreted, which means it was written in a different way. How are we supposed to know that if we don't have the original book to show that? And if we do have the original book, why hasn't it been corrected in all the Bibles that we still have today?
It has to be corrected by different. On the version.
I can't hear you say. Can you start over? Sorry.
It depends on the version of the Bible you read too. Like there's ESV, KJ, and LGBTQ. So
Right.
it kind of depends which version you're focused on.
Right, but then even like the different versions, because I know what you're talking about. There's like King James and there's other ones too. It's basically like they just changed the wording. It means the same thing. It's just different wording.
Which is accurate because a lot of them are different, but completely wording wise. So it can be.
Well, like for example, here, do you have a source that like shows how this verse has been interpreted in like a different way than all the others? Because like I've read like different Bible verses before, and they've all meant the same. They just are worded differently.
No, I think the people interpret it differently. Like depending on if you read King James, I mean the language is completely different than how it is now. If you read it's more common day language, you can understand it in a different way than reading King James.
But I mean, this like it says, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife. I mean, it has like the pronouns and his wife, and the two shall become one. I mean, that's like really straightforward.
What'd you say? Sorry, you cut out.
No, it's like, I mean, I get that it can be interpreted in different ways, but how are you supposed to interpret it? Like, it says, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one. How can that be interpreted in any other way? It says he and his wife, and the two shall be joined to become one.
Depends on the current situation. Like I said before, it was all about population, and back then they wanted to gain a bigger ball.
And how do you know that it was based off of politics and population?
Now that
because I mean, like the Bible was written from like prophets. That's what is said.
Yeah.
Okay.
That were spoken to through God.
So since it kind of like seems like it's between just you two, like, could we change the topic just so it's kind of between everybody?
Yeah.
So like everyone's included.
I have no idea what's happening.
It seemed like before everybody wanted to do Confederate flag, like from the chat.
I mean, I'd be down.
But then there's, I think other people are saying like white privilege. So I guess we'll.
Black Lives Matter, white privilege is what.
So we can just like wait a minute just to see what they want, and then.
It's like in the middle. I'm seeing Black Lives Matter and.
I'm seeing white privilege.
I'm seeing both.
Oh, everybody's saying white privilege right now.
Yeah.
But can you do them together?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of like.
I mean, they're not the same, but like.
They're similar, like debate topics.
Do it together.
Well, I mean, I don't really know how, like, what white privilege and then the Confederate flag kind of correlate. But it seems like everybody wants to do, like, white privilege. And
but
KP.
Do white privilege and Black Lives Matter together.
Oh, I thought you said Confederate. My bad.
No. Everybody is saying white and then Confederate, but.
Everyone's saying, like, white privilege and Black Lives Matter and stuff.
All
It's
right.
a lot more white
Yeah, I'd be
privilege.
down.
White privilege?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, where does everyone stand? I'm guessing it's divided as it's
Hi,
been for
Emily.
the past three topics. I'm guessing. Yeah, 3 or 4.
Well,
White
I
priv-
believe that white privilege is real, and it's a like prominent issue in the United States.
What's your
to do with
definition of white privilege? That like define your definition of white privilege.
Like like non-white people have more of a struggle than white people in certain areas.
Like what areas?
criminal
Like
justice is-
yeah, criminal justice is main one.
it's systemically racist. Like you can look at it's been proven so many times. Like even with the war on drugs.
Yeah, war on drugs is yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about the war on drugs, but I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
The percentage of white people that smoke marijuana is higher than black people who smoke marijuana. They're incarcerated at a higher rate than white people.
Yeah.
Who smoke marijuana for nonviolent drug crimes. I believe that nonviolent drug crimes should get treatment for addiction or anything like that's affecting them rather than having them go to jail for that because they're like a large percent times more likely to commit that crime again than it is for them to get out of jail and not do
So,
it.
do you think that? I mean, you said that like white people in society have better opportunities or have like the upper hand against people of color, right? That's like you said that or something like that, or no?
The criminal justice
No, Jade
Just-
said that.
Jade, and yeah, that's what I was talking about. Jade, you said that like they have like the upper hand, right?
Well, yeah, white
He
people
said
they
in
don't
some
have
areas.
is
They-
like yeah, in certain areas, not like every single area, but in a lot of areas, black people struggle more.
So like, are you
I don't really know
that-
how to word it, but
like, do you think that like they struggle like with acceptances into colleges, like other opportunities in schooling?
well,
Or-
Like,
well,
what do they struggle with?
when black and Asian people here's like one example. When black and Asian people whitewashed or like Americanized their job applications, they like had better results. Like they were more likely to get the job, even though they had the exact same qualifications. That's just one example of how like yeah.
Okay.
I believe that white privilege is more of like a criminal justice thing because I mean if you look at the incarceration
Yeah.
rates and you look at all the factors that go into those arrests, that's why I don't support it. Just mainly because of the war on drugs and nonviolent drug. And then if you look at the fact of the reason why they get the benefits going into college is because a lot of them did not have the same opportunities. It's been proven. I mean, the percentage of people who grow up without a father that are black is extremely high mostly to the because the arrests that happen due to the nonviolent drug offenders severely impacted their community. It still does. I mean, it's their community has been severely impacted.
Do you think that like the lack of like father figures in like the African American community plays a role into the crime rates as well?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like to have like a good childhood, it takes like 2 parents to help raise this child to like just be overall a great child. Like you're not another influence, you're getting one. A lot of times the single like let's say it's a single mom, they can't afford to take care of this child the way they should be taking care of
Yeah.
them. The same opportunities, which is why they get those benefits going into college.
Right.
Do you think racial profiling is a big problem in law enforcement?
Hmm?
Do you
Racial
think racial profiling is a big problem in law enforcement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like to arrests or to stops or like what extent?
What do you
Well,
mean?
the war on drugs.
Not with the court system, with law enforcement themselves.
Well, like
Okay,
more
okay.
people were arrested on the war. Like more black people were arrested in the war on drugs than white people for the same thing. So it's, yeah,
But like
they're more
every
likely
day,
to be
like
arrested.
you think they're stopped just because they're black, like
No,
very
hold on.
often.
Hold on. For nonviolent drug offenders, if you're black, you're like, what's the percent? 5 times, I think, 3 times, something like that, more likely to get a longer sentence than a white person. It's about the sentencing. They are profiled, they get a longer sentence compared to white people who get a shorter sentence or service for the nonviolent drug crime, which is why I support rehabilitation instead of jail time.
But just because you're racially profiled doesn't mean you're arrested. It just means that you're stopped.
Which is a problem. You shouldn't have to be racially profiled.
No, but I'm asking, like, do you think it happens as much as like everyone thinks it does?
The population is low, which is why it seems like a lower amount.
Yeah, the comparison of like white, like the problem of like white people being killed and then like black people being killed by like police is like little more than 100, but the difference between like the percentages for American population is like 60%. So, I mean, comparing like the two, but then racially profiling is different. But that's
yeah, like if you're racially profiled, like you're not necessarily like you're just stopped.
Well, I mean, I still think that's a problem that you're stopped because of your race.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I'm asking, like, do you think it happens? Like you're just
as much as
the street. Like
but
everyone thinks.
I can look that. Like
I agree that there is racial profiling. Like there's no like denying that. I mean, it's like I agree. But if you're like, I mean, and yes, obviously there are police officers who are like racist. Like there's no there are a select few that are like there's if anybody denies it, that's just ignorant. But a lot of like you also have to look at when it comes to racial profiling. If you're talking about like traffic stops or something, like yeah, that I get that. But if you're talking about like they're looking for a person and there's a description of this person, say it was like a white male or a black male. So say they had like a black male, they have all these descriptions. Somebody matches like that description. They're an African American male. They have a red shirt on, whatnot, and they pull you over. Like that is racial profiling just because like of the description they gave you. So like yes, to also take into account that as well. But I mean like with regular traffic
if someone
stops, somebody
says like there is an African American male around the age of 20 in a red shirt and you stop someone that you see, that's not profiling.
I mean it is profiling because
right, but you're not pulling them over because they're black. You went off.
That's not
what racial
that's not what we're talking about.
Racial profiling is stopping somebody specifically because of their race, which is not
right, and I'm telling
the
you,
description.
that KP, like you can still do that.
I just looked it up and it says
they're not two different. They're not the same thing. They're two different things.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
It sounded like she was saying that like if someone is stopped because they're black in like a red shirt, then that's racial profiling. Well, not necessarily if you're given that description.
Well, not really, not at all. It's just
I was more trying to ask you guys if you thought that was racial profiling. I didn't make that very clear, but that's what I was trying to ask.
Oh.
But yeah, sorry, I didn't make that clear at all. My bad.
Wait, can you say it again? Sorry, I was looking something up. No, like your question.
I was trying to ask you guys if you thought that was like racial profiling or not, but I didn't make that very clear, so that's my fault. Sorry.
Well,
a minute. That's just a warning because it's really late where I am.
Yeah. We can finish. We can finish this topic and then.
We can just be done right now if you guys want, because it is kind of late. It's like 12 o'clock. So you wanna?
This is our TikTok. So go follow us on TikTok.
Oh yeah,
my
TikTok is literally my TikTok and my Instagram are literally my name. So
this right here is my TikTok name.
That's my TikTok, my Instagram right there. So
I didn't put mine.
Have a good evening.
Everybody's gonna come.
I hope you all are both. Thank you for skin.
That was actually fun.
Yes, it was.
I have to say my TikTok is